The bouquet look is one that many crafters really admire when it's seen in a project. But when it comes to actually creating the look, many look away because they just don't know where to start. Let's demystify this technique and have you creating blurred backgrounds in no time. Every technique video is narrated live while I'm doing the technique, so you're getting a real-time view of how the whole process works. Pull out the supplies I'm using and create right along with me, pausing as you need. Before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. Bokeh is that blurred look that you see in many photographs. It's actually Japanese and it means blur or haze. So that's exactly why we call it bokeh. So there's two ways that I like to add bokeh to my projects, and that is to use foam blending brushes with white pigment ink. But I also like to create a little template, and I'm going to show you how to do that here. So having some infinity circle dies or nesting circle dies really works well because we're going to be able to create basically a stencil that you can use over and over to create your bokeh look. So take a whole bunch of circles in different sizes and place them all over your card here. And this is going to be a stencil, like I said, so you'll be able to move it around and turn it and do all sorts of different things to it. So let's start with something like this, and we'll go ahead and die cut this out. And then you may even want to take some extra pieces here and just do some of these single ones, so that way you have different sizes to work from. Once you have your circles die cut out, then you've got a template. So I've got this larger template here, and then I have some smaller ones that I can use when I get into the more detail work. So the next thing you'll need is some background pieces, and you can use like a watercolored background, you can use pattern paper background, you can even use your gel plate backgrounds to create your bokeh base. It doesn't really matter which you want to use, anything will work. So I like to put down a piece of sticky sheet just to keep this in place as I'm working. And that's going to help this bottom piece from shifting around as I work. Now, the key to bokeh is to get that nice soft look in the background and then get the more detailed look as you come forward. And as you come forward, the circles are actually going to get smaller. So I'm going to start off by just getting some white pigment ink. So this is just plain old white pigment ink on my foam blender. And you may even want to just swirl a little bit off to make sure that you don't have too much on here. I'm just going to go ahead and stencil these circles in just like you would if you were just using a regular stencil for any other project. So really it's just all about stenciling and knowing how to blend out your look. So these background ones, I don't want them to necessarily be too light and I don't want them to be too defined either, but when you're using a stencil like this, you really can't help that it's going to look like it's got some sharp edges. So once we have that first layer on, I'm going to remove my stencil, and you can see that I have some hard lines. So I'll just come back with my blending brush and go right over those to blend them out. All right, so that's my first layer. Now I'm just going to go ahead and take my stencil and shift it around a little bit, maybe put it at an angle even, and continue on with the same process. So again, I'll put another layer of white. And now where things are starting to overlap, you're going to start seeing those little overlapping lines, and areas will start to look lighter because they will be covered with more ink. So again, just going over all of these. And when I pull my stencil up, you'll see again, it's a little bit more defined. So again, I will come in and just kind of go around the edges to soften them up. And there we go. So that's our second one. You can see I've got like two that are right on top of each other. There's a couple that are overlapping. This is perfect. This is just what you want. So as you're going through, you're going to want to start going into some of the smaller sizes. And that's why you would want to have some of these smaller ones set up so you can have a little bit more control about where you're putting them and what sizes you're using. You just need to be careful that you're not extending outside of your stencil here so you don't get any unsightly lines as you go. So again, you're just going to put these on and go over them and then come back out and blend those lines so that you get a really nice blur. And as you can see, we really do have a bokeh look going on. So just continue going on until you really get the look that you would like. Now, at some point, the whole background is just going to look kind of blendy. So you need to start defining your circles a little bit more. So I'm just going to come in here and start doing some more defined circles and not doing as much blending out. This is where you want to start overlapping and getting that look. You're not going to use your large circles anymore. You're going to definitely want to use the small circles. And if you want something even more defined, you can take a small sponge dauber like this and just do a little twist and get some little small ones in here as well. This does give a slightly different look, so if that's not something that you like, then you can just omit that altogether and continue on using your stencil to create the look that you like. So there we go. A really gorgeous bokeh look. Once this all dries, it's going to be nice and soft and have that really cool ethereal look to it. Once you've learned how to make circular bokeh with your stencils, why don't you take it a step further and make heart-shaped bokeh? You can use the same process, so cut out some nested hearts in a stencil format here and go ahead and add them to your project like this. The only difference with the shapes is that you're going to want to keep them all going the same direction. So I've got this first one here, and the second one I kind of shifted down just a little bit, but I'm keeping my hearts going the same direction. You can also flip over your stencil if you want to get things onto the other side. And that gets more hearts in place. Again, you're just going to do that same process where you put them down and then you just kind of buff them out. And then when you get to a point, you're going to want to start just using your smaller stencils only and adding in some of those more defined bokeh dots over the top of everything. So there you go. Now you can create not only beautiful circle bokeh, but ethereal shaped bokeh using any kind of dies that you might have. I hope you enjoyed this technique and you add it into your toolbox sometime soon. When you give it a try, share it out on Instagram and tag me at Nicole Creates. I always love to see what your creative mind is thinking. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. And until next time, happy crafting.